I want to talk about why we should not be putting any energy into supporting Coachella. And I know other people are talking about this year, and I just want to contribute as well. So, Coachella, in its early years back in the 90s, it was started as an alternative festival for punk bands such as Iggy Pop and the Stooges, the Jesus and Mary Chain, the Damned, the Distillers, the Circle Jerks, bands that were promoting fighting the machine. Oh, and also Rage Against the Machine. So they were punk bands and that were also trying to highlight the energy that is wanted to bring down a system that is not working, that is subjugating people and harming people. That's the origin. And these days, it is owned by a billionaire who is actually, he is creating the problem and he is gaining all this wealth. And while 40% of the population in the Coachella Valley are in the most dire economic straits, they're the people who are suffering the most from economic instability and poverty. So, as quickly as we can overlook the controversies that are surrounding the festival, such as the climate impact and the overconsumption that happens in this very small amount of time, the travel that the gas, the resources that take for people to get to the venue. The tickets are inflated $500, $600 each when back when it started, it was $50 per day for a person to attend. The man who owns this festival, the CEO of Coachella, is a billionaire. That's just what is reflected publicly. Um, the foundation that he owns, the foundation has donated to um, conservative alt-right organizations, climate denying organizations. He supported Colorado's anti-gay proposition in the 90s, which allowed private property owners and employers to discriminate against homosexual people identifying as gay or trans. The Anschutz Foundation gave $125,000 to the Media Research Center, which attacks various media outlets for covering protests against Chick-fil-A, stemming from their anti-gay statements, which they made. He's just a bad dude. He's a former oil and gas baron. He operates one of the largest nonprofits in the United States while he is donating money to anti-gay and trans groups, propositions that would severely increase the amount of government endorsed discrimination against gay people. Anschutz also has ties to the extreme right, including funding of homophobic groups, anti-union organizations, and climate and evolutionary science deniers. He has also recently been going into funding education reform, which has been very deeply troubling in the past 5 years in the way that books are being banned, books about racism, diversity. I've looked at some of the lists of these banned books, and they are unbelievably shocking. The books that are not acceptable to be in public schools, completely educational material about relevant topics, diversity, inclusion, the history of racism in America. It's really important that these books are available. Something I wanted to also mention is that who do we imagine are the people who are being paid the least at Coachella and are putting in the most work? These are immigrant populations. These are people of color. These are women of color. These are the people who are exploited for largely white, upper class, elite populations, because who can afford to go to Coachella? Elite populations. So consuming any media around Coachella, they put out concert videos after the fact, they put out merch, they put out all kinds of albums live at Coachella. Don't support that. Don't support Coachella. Don't want to go there. Don't support even the fashion that's there, because honestly, lots of the fashion there is exploitative. It is condescending. It is absolutely privileged. It is colorblind. It is white people thinking that it's cool to dress like they're not white, that it's cool. And it is just so flagrantly disrespectful for these people to be appropriating traditions that they don't have a right to. They've stolen too much. They've stolen enough. So I just want to bring some awareness to why not supporting Coachella and not supporting Coachella-like events is important, because as we are examining the ways that we're contributing to a capitalist system that is based on white supremacy, it is based on subjugation of people that are not white, and it's also based on individualism and competition and competing with other people for resources and putting people below us. When we're examining how we are actually holding up that structure, it takes a hard truth to see, yeah, I'm paying money to the people who are benefiting from this the most, and to see where we can retract our money, where we can take our money back and not support those industries, which includes not supporting, not supporting storage, not supporting these billionaires. So to find out, where am I most often ignorantly paying billionaires, and see where I can do that in my community instead. Where can I pay a local person to help me sew up my favorite jeans instead of buying some fast fashion jeans, or seeing where I can go to some yard sales this spring and make some connections and maybe sell some of my things, trade some of my things. There are seed swaps happening at my local library. There are plant sales and swaps that are happening in my community. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's out there in the community, and we can help build that instead of, supporting these elitist and capitalist paragons that are really crumbling at the foundations when we remove our supporting them, because we, the people, are at the foundation. And when we remove the resource, then that cash cow starves. And we don't need to feed it anymore. We don't need to be a part of that. And I think this really comes into this whole topic that I like to share about on wholeness, because we are living in a society that tells us that we're fragmented. And we've been taught that since we were very young, that what we do doesn't have an effect out there, that it only has an effect out there as far as how I can climb in my status and how I can climb in my security, and who I can compete with, outcompete in order to get what I want. And this is a completely manufactured paradigm that we're living under, this fragmented system, because it doesn't work. And it's been fabricated because people who wanted to gain resources with as little loss as possible and collect and benefit were the ones who were creating the system at the time. So now, when we're in this stage of collapse, which we are in white American capitalist society, that's collapsing. We're seeing it collapse. As this is happening, we can prepare ourselves to remove ourselves from supporting it. So this doesn't mean going and lighting things on fire. More so, it means taking our agency to recognize our participation in the whole and acting towards wholeness instead of towards fragmentation. And this isn't just this spiritually minded activity, it's really very practical. It's like, where are my actions contributing to fragmentation in my society, in my community? Where are my actions open? Where's the possibility here for me to contribute to a more unified and reunified participation with my neighbors, participation in my community, and participation in my local government? Because these are very real ways that we can act in accordance with the participation, the nature of being human, which is very cooperative. We all come from cooperative roots. Generations back, our ancestors had to cooperate in order to survive. So that is what has led humans to be able to live in this fragmented way. It's cooperation. And the more that we become fragmented, the more we see that it's falling apart. So to come back into reunification and come back into cooperation, it begins with examining our spending habits. And there are these big, flashy, bright distractions out there like Coachella that we can see and say, okay, well, I wasn't planning on going to Coachella this year, but what are some other things that I'm buying into? How many subscriptions do I have to streaming services? And who owns those? And can I narrow it down to one or two? Can I narrow it down to free, not free, but open media, open sourcing materials? So I'm more and more getting my information through platforms where people are using their voice instead of corporations are filtering that voice. So it's very groomed for me to see what they want me to see. So this isn't about conspiracy theories. This isn't about fearing what's going on. It's really about seeing how I can be a part of it and I can be a part of the wholeness of where we are right now, rather than the separation and the fear and the anxiety. So I think our participation is absolutely necessary. We're either participating or we're backing out. We're we're ending the game. We're hitting game over. And maybe that's where you are right now, and that's okay. I'd be curious to hear why you think it's a game over. Put that in the comments. If you want to keep part of the conversation on wholeness and how we can contribute to building in a collapse and how we can contribute to wholeness rather than deconstruction and separation and feeling that separation, please subscribe to this channel because I love to have you here and I love to share these ideas and I love to have the conversation continued. So please let me know what you think in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in talking with me more, maybe one-on-one or reading some of my articles, you can go to wholenesswisdom.com. Thanks for being here. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.